Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the semifinals of Good as Gold, number 50. That's big 5-0, and did I just say that wrong? It is the semifinals, right?
No, it is the semifinals.
All right, it's a best of three. We're starting out on Shakura's Plateau. With me today, that devoiced sound in the background, that is Playhem's Nostalgia Telex. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am great. These games have been a lot of fun to cast so far.
I'm glad.
And actually, the great thing I'm going to say about casting these lower league games is what I'm used to casting, because I do my own stream where I cast games of anybody live, and we tend to have quite a lot of bronze to gold, even some platinum play there. So I feel right at home casting these kind of games.
Well, that is awesome. I gotta say, you definitely have transitioned into it really well, and that is just simply twitch.tv/nostalgiatelex, correct?
Yeah, twitch.tv/nostalgiatelex. Anyways, let's do the introductions to these players. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner as our orange Zerg player of Shakura's Plateau, we have Bentheck.
And special shout out to him. He was the designer of the overlays, which we will be using starting tomorrow. And in the lower left-hand corner of our screen, it is the pink Zerg VMSerpent.
Definitely going to be slithering his way through this game as a Zerg player. Now, one thing I love about Zerg versus Zerg in almost every mirror matchup, I would say, in general, is that when you make a mistake, it almost costs you more. So you have to play more solid. You have to basically be playing your best games in mirror matchups, or else you let your opponent get a little bit further ahead, and it's really hard to come back from that kind of a thing. Bentheck has scouted VMSerpent here in the bottom left-hand corner. As where did Serpent? Yeah, he's also scouted Bentheck in the bottom right. Both players playing that Overlord for close by air positions.
Getting that flip correct, or Overlord, whatever you want to call it. But that's important to note. We mention it almost every time we see Shakura's Plateau, but please remember all of these maps are ladder edition, which means on Shakura's Plateau you cannot spawn close by ground. So for Bentheck, he knows his opponent is to the left side of the map. It's either going to be in the upper left-hand corner or the lower left-hand corner, and the vice versa is true, of course, for VMSerpent. So when you're out there on the ladder wondering where your opponent is, especially if they're random and you really need that early scout to know what to do, little piece of information for you to keep in mind. There are several maps out there that are all forced cross position. When we come across them, we'll let you know.
Yep. Not usually in the latter editions of the maps. I mean, you look at Antigua Shipyard, both the MLG and GSL versions of the map do have that forced cross-spawn positions. However, the latter edition does not.
Yeah, Metalopolis was, but since it's no longer in the map pool, I guess this may be the only one in the map pool currently that's forced cross. Or no, forced apart.
Yeah, in terms of the close by ground positions, there were a few maps like that. Metalopolis was one of them. Shakura's Plateau was one of them. As well as Shattered Temple was one of them as well.
Oh god, I hated that map.
Well, it's a classic map. If you go back in the day, Shattered Temple used to be the Lost Temple, which back in Brood War days was a pretty well-known map.
Yes, I am actually familiar with it ever so vaguely. The only reason I disliked it is because I had an inability to prevent the elevator from Terran.
Yes, right up into the back of that natural base.
Yeah, just so much of that open space and that grass area in the middle preventing vision was really kind of difficult. We see a lot of Lings moving out from VMSerpent right now. It is spotted by Bentheck, who had control of the Xel'Naga, and his response, he already has several Lings. He's got a Spinecrawler and a Queen. More Lings come out. Oh, he doesn't have the...
Oh! Does not match get in there. A great little cast there by Bentheck. He almost got right up into that main. Right now, we see Bentheck is producing 12 Zerglings at a time. However, the advantage does go to VMSerpent having that speed upgrade as well. Now it looks like Bentheck is trying to trap these Zerglings into a bad position.
A nice little move, and the Queen is going to be able to do a lot of damage to him. He's going to lose most of his Lings here, but should be able to clean up all the Lings of VMSerpent without losing any drones at all, so that's a bit of a victory in itself. Oh, VMSerpent almost sacrificing a few more Lings there with a misrally. Pulls him back at the last moment. Would like to see him control the Xel'Nagas, and he does. Nicely done, sir. Probably overproducing with that second round of Lings. He is putting on a Spinecrawler, so I think that he could probably slip in a few more drones on that particular round of Larva.
Well, I actually think that VMSerpent's going to be going more all-inish as opposed to really producing some more of those drones. He's making a lot of Zerglings, and that's because he has thrown down that Baneling nest,
Indeed.
which means that he's going to be producing a lot, and I mean a lot of Zerglings here very, very shortly. A lot of them will be warped into Banelings to try to, not only kill off the spine crawlers and drones and whatnot, but really hit the Zerglings of Bentheck. Oh, now VMSerpent's also throwing down that Roach Warren. I definitely think that's a bit of a mistake. Does not have the production to both do Banelings and Roaches. I
And
think
definitely
one
doesn't
or the
have the
other would have been
gas for it at all. I was about to say it's going to be
yes.
extremely all in because he's just cutting the corner of getting any gas at all. Now that he's going with the roaches, looks like he may just decide to go defensive style with his Banelings. Yeah, as we see one run back towards the ramp. Looks like he may want to stabilize with the Banelings while he produces a roach army. Uh,
That is a possibility. He does have a lot of Zerglings, though. I mean, that may have been a little bit of an overproduction of Zerglings. Kind of thinking, well, I know Bentheck has a lot of Zerglings, which means if he goes for a counterattack and I don't have enough, then I'm going to get run over. But of course, having that Spinecrawler, having just a couple of Zerglings, as well as Queen's position on that ramp, could have prevented that. So, but I mean, those are the kind of things that you have to learn with is that you can't just freak out and start building everything when you're under a little bit of pressure. You have to stay calm and make sure that you continue to macro and you make just what you need to hold any kind of counter aggression.
Oh, here we go. I guess it's going to be a Roach Baneling attack, but he's already 8 supply behind. Let's open up the Army tab and see that, yep, there's more orange on that bar than there is pink. So this may not really go in VMSerpent's favor, although he does have Banelings, and they are an interesting equalizer, which is why ZVZs are normally a really high cholesterol matchup to watch, to cast, to play, whatever it is. Okay, now VMSerpent returning home. I can relax a little. I was getting excited.
Now, here's a very interesting that Bentheck is doing. He did go Roachling early game, but then he transitioned into Hydralisks.
What?
Now, this is something that you did see a lot more. I'm going to say this.
Oh.
I would say about 3 or 4 months ago, where a lot of the Zerg players in ZVZ didn't really understand the difference between what's better, Roach Infestor or Roach Hydra. A lot of Roach Hydra was being used because a lot of Zerg players were teching to Mutalisks, but even then, players realized that Infestor play is a little bit stronger against Zerg in ZVZ, even when they go Mutalisk, having those fungal growths, very, very important, which is why you tend to see most Zergs in Zerg versus Zerg go Roach Infestor these days and not really use that Hydralisk play. But, of course, that also means that you have to be a lot more micro-intensive, making sure you get great fungals down, having the proper control groups, as well as making sure that you have things like burrow, that you have a good creep spread. And when you have Hydralisks, sure, you can't move very fast off of creep, but it's definitely a lot better for instant, constant, increased damage. But what I guess I'm trying to say from all of that is Roach Infestor is a little bit more standard, and I definitely think a little bit stronger. That's
Very
what I'm
true.
going for.
I think there's no. It's a great piece of information. Really, the only thing that to note during your explanation there is that there is a hidden expansion going down from VMSerpent up top. A little bit of a cheeky move out of him. Bentheck taking a little bit more of a normal, and a Zergling running in at perhaps exactly. Ooh, barely gets the hatchery down in time. And I'm pretty sure VMSerpent we'll see that in a moment. Yeah, there he goes. Now he's controlling his Zergling. He's still controlling the Zelnaga Tower, and I agree with you completely. It definitely does seem like the Infestor was underestimated early just because a lot of people weren't quite sure how to use it. Exactly like you were saying. They weren't sure which army composition was better. We don't see a lot of Hydras at any level of player right now. I think Heart of the Swarm, I don't know if you've seen those battle reports, but we're
Oh yeah, having the speed Hydras off of creep is going to be helping bring back that Hydralisk army quite a bit.
I'm afraid of that army. Uh, those fast-moving Hydras, because they do really a high amount of DPS, and they have a range of 5, so it's a lot like a Marine. It's like a Zerg Marine, and that's a scary proposition for anyone who's familiar with losing to Mass Marine. Now there's going to be a Mass
Yeah.
Hydra option.
You also have to remember though that Hydralisks are not very strong. They do die really, really quickly when they're confronted against a big army.
That
Right now
is
we see
true.
VMSerpent has actually taken the lead in supply right now. 114 to 107. He does have those Mutalisks here in like the bottom middle area towards the back of Bentheck's base. And all that he does have there to defend against it is that one queen, so those Mulists can come in and pick off quite a few drones. If we take a look at that unit slot, our workers kill tab, we'll see just how many
Oh,
go.
there's no pull by Ben. We have a few lag spikes there, but the important part is there is a ton of drones dying. Finally, they're pulled. These Mutalisks have already paid for themselves, really. Now they're about to encounter Hydralisks, and they're not going to make it. They're dead.
Yeah,
They're all dead.
Mutalisks don't do very good against Hydralisks. They should have ran. I don't think losing them was the correct answer. You never really want to lose a Hydralisk when there's a good saying that you should use when you're using Hydralisks. Don't try to do damage. Try to take as little damage as possible. So
Speaking of
basically,
Mutalisks.
run in there.
Speaking of Mutalisks.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
Speaking of Mutalisks, yes, sorry. You want to get in there. You want to make sure you can do damage to that drone line. He killed that queen, and as soon as that queen died and all those drones got, he should have just ran. He could have kept all of those alive. Continue to aggress in different areas.
Couldn't agree more. We also see, interestingly, the creep spread out of Bentheck. He is going with that Hydra play, so the creep is, I'm going to say, is going to help him a little bit more than his opponent. But normally in ZVZ, spreading creep anywhere more than between your bases is not the best idea, as it helps your opponent reinforce their own attacking armies or surprise you from different angles, because all Zerg players get that plus speed bonus on all creep. It's not player specific at all.
Yeah, it's not like creep has a different color. The orange player does not get orange creep. It's all a universal gooey purple stuff, and it helps everybody out. Now, the only time I would actually recommend to continue to spread creep is when you know your opponent is going very, very heavy into air, Mutalisk into Broodlord. Then having that creep can help out quite a bit.
This
It looks like
run by
VMSerpent,
really
yeah.
just cleaning up a ton of Ben's drones, and it took him forever to react. And now he's finally going to clean it up. He's going to lose a few of his own lings that he probably didn't need to, and now he's going to have to pop off another round of drones. He would have had that base more or less saturated, but that puts him economically up by 2 drones, which I did not expect. However, currently the mining rate for VMSerpent is higher, as he's already got a number of his drones up at this expansion at the very top. We see that Ben currently has no idea that that's there. That's a little bit of bad form out of him. There are Mutalisks on the map, which is why he's not